everybody, my name is Eric Hopkins. This is my good buddy Brandon, and we're here tonight to do our WWE recap for this week, which will include all three shows going forward, unless there's a pay-per-view here and there. We'll probably do those on Sunday nights after the show is over and release those on Monday still. But we thought we'd combine all three shows here each week. That way we only got to talk about WWE once a week. We'll be doing the same thing with AEW as well moving forward to kind of give us a little bit of a break from doing so many different wrestling reviews. We'll just get it all out of the way in one night. But if you're finding us for the very first time, please click that like and subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you get all the notifications about when we put up new content right here on this channel. So I guess before we get started with the three shows, though, I thought I'd get Brandon's perspective on a couple of different news items coming out of the world of WWE. First of all, Bray Wyatt was released by the company this weekend. Came as a bit of a shock to a lot of people, but there's maybe some extenuating circumstances we don't necessarily know about quite yet. Just wondered if you had any thoughts on that, buddy.
I mean, I didn't see it coming, to be honest with you. Like, I don't think anybody really did. I mean, I guess if you paid attention, it was kind of there because, like, he hasn't been on TV since what?
WrestleMania.
Yeah.
The night after, I think.
And it was one of those things like, well, where the hell is Bray? You know what I mean? And not surprised in a sense. Like, I'm not surprised. But at the same time, like, they weren't going any... They stopped progressing that storyline or Bray's whole thing. Like, once this whole thing with Randy Orton started, it went nowhere, and fast it went nowhere.
Yeah.
And then it was like they were running out of ideas midway through it. And then Bray disappeared. And then he came back at WrestleMania, and then, like, that whole thing went weird. And then I was kind of fucking...
And then Alexa kind of took over, said, I don't need you anymore, so to speak, with the whole Jack in the Box thing and all that sort of nonsense. But
it was weird.
Yeah.
But
to me, it was kind of like, you know, last year, late in the year, around the end of 2020, that's when Brody Lee died. And we all know that Bray Wyatt was real close with Brody Lee. Luke Harper for those WWE circles. But and then that's where he got lit on fire at TLC, and he lost to Randy Orton. Then we didn't see him all the way until WrestleMania, and then it was kind of the blow-off of the whole feud, and we hadn't seen him since. So we don't know exactly why Bray Wyatt's been out this entire time. A lot of people are speculating perhaps he's going through some mental health issues because of Brody Lee's passing. That's possibly true. We don't know. But there was also reports going around that he was actually ready to return to WWE when they cut him. So he was in the best shape of his life, from what I understand, and ready to come back. So for whatever reason, they decided to just go ahead and let him go. And again, there may be some other, details of this story that none of us are aware of yet. Maybe they'll come out here in the future. But I do believe that Bray Wyatt has teased he's been teasing, I think, on his social media, quote, the cult of Wyndham is coming soon. So I don't know if that means he's already got plans with some other company, or what that might be. But obviously most people are speculating AEW at this point, but they do that with everybody WWE lets goes. And speaking of WWE let go people, another person has been speculated to go to AEW is the recently released Ric Flair. Now, I don't necessarily think that AEW is super, intent on getting Ric Flair. But apparently Ric Flair might have asked for his release, or there are reports where he was going around and trying to discuss the bad booking with Vince McMahon, and recently, and not too long after that, he got released, talking about how he wasn't thrilled with either his own booking or the booking in general, maybe about Charlotte, I'm not sure. But either way, it led to Rick getting his release, and he put out a tweet talking about how, it's nothing, no hard feelings there, it's all good, it's just that he feels like the future for himself is different than what the company had for him, so he requested his release, and they let him go. Now, could he show up at AEW? Who knows? I don't think, obviously, again, he's a very old guy at this point. I mean, let's not mince words. He's an older gentleman. Now, maybe we could see the reunion of Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, and Ric Flair, 3 of the original 4 Horsemen. But you could do that for one night.
That's what I was talking about the other day, too. Like, I don't want this to be a thing. I don't.
Agreed. I mean, I don't think it should get out of hand. If they do it, maybe a one-night thing, and that'd be it. But yeah, so for now, no Ric Flair in the company. Don't know what that means for Charlotte Flair. Probably nothing. I'm sure she'll be just fine. But a lot of speculation talking about how much pull she may have at the back. I'm not sure. But not only that, she lost clean as a sheet this week. So that's interesting as well in regards to that. But also, one other bit of news I thought I'd get your opinion on here before we move forward. Adam Cole. Apparently, the company did not quite realize that His contract was set to expire at the end of July. The contract expired, but he signed a 1 month extension with the company. And we know, based on the NXT, we're going to get into that a little bit here, that he is building toward a match or a third match in the series with Kyle O'Reilly at TakeOver 36. A lot of people are speculating that after that, he's done with the company and he may move on as well. So any thoughts on where he might go, what his plans are? Do you think he'd stick around, go to the main roster?
I don't think he'd go to the main roster, but if he does leave, I mean, speculate all we want, kind of figure we know where he's going to go. But at the same time, again, I don't want this to be a dumping ground.
Well, agreed. Yeah. Now, again, a lot of people talk, AEW's picking up WWE scraps. A lot of these guys, they are picking up. Now, Ric Flair, you could argue, would be a little different. I wouldn't call Ric Flair a scrap, but at his age, obviously, he's not going to do much for the company.
It's one of those things. It's like,
yeah,
you have enough of your own homegrown guys to focus on, and again, I don't want to make it sound like I'm being an asshole here because I'm not trying to be.
Right.
But you have your own set of guys that you should focus on. Bringing in these other guys who, as established as they may be, and I'm not just saying from WWE, I mean from TNA, anywhere. It kind of then, your roster, because you're bringing in big names who, with the exception of Christian Cage in this situation here, who have more longevity still, have more time to do things with. Like Christian, let's be honest.
Yeah, he got a whole lot of time.
He may get a shot at the title. He's never winning that title.
I wouldn't think so, no.
Because that's not his role. That's not his job.
Right.
But if you bring in a guy like what you did with Aleister Black,
Andrade,
Bray
Wyatt,
Bray Wyatt,
if he wants
Miro.
And Adam Cole would also be great. I mean, those guys are young enough. Yeah.
So, but you still got longevity with these guys,
right? And they're talented.
So now, again, you're in a situation. Do you take away from the guys that you've already had and established and are building up to put these? I mean, you're gonna have to find the same thing when you bring in Daniel Bryan, when you bring in
Punk.
CM Punk. Well, I don't know about CM Punk. But you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. But yeah, and it does kind of get to a point you got to be careful about overcrowding. Absolutely. It just depends on how you treat the rest of your roster, and if you have extra TV time, like the Rampage show, that may change a lot of things. Of course, but at the same time,
like,
yeah, because it's only an hour.
If you're going to bring these big name guys in, you're not going to put them on Rampage. Let's be honest.
Well, it's supposed to be a sister show to Dynamite. It's going to be as important like Raw and SmackDown are. It's not going to be a dark.
They'll be there. I can guarantee you they'll be there if that's where they're going. They may make their debut there to help bring attention to that show. But make no mistake, just like there's Raw and there's SmackDown, Raw is still their flagship show.
Well, they think it is.
It used to be their flagship.
Right. I got you, yeah.
The same will be for Dynamite.
Well, I know they've said it'll be 1A and 1B, basically like Raw and SmackDown. But again, we'll have to see. Right. Yeah, I mean, we'll see how it goes. And of course, the rumor right now is that Vince McMahon and WWE is considering moving SmackDown to 3 hours, which would then go directly against Rampage, which the only problem with that is Fox has local news at 10, so they have to do that. But the rumor is that Vince would run a third hour of SmackDown on FS1. And if that's the case, he's doing it to go directly head-to-head with Rampage to knock it out. That's what would be. But I don't know if that's going to happen. That's just a rumor at this point. But we'll have to wait and see. But I just thought I'd get your thoughts on that stuff before we get into these shows. So
I mean, that's my opinion. Like I said,
I hear you. And
I want it to be like everybody else and have that hopeful optimism that these guys won't change the landscape of AEW when they make, their appearance there or whatever.
You just don't want to cut everybody else off the knees. I understand that. Absolutely. And guys like Jungle Boy, Darby, MJF, all these guys who have been there. Yeah, and you got to continue to do that. As long as they continue to keep them in the limelight.
And this whole thing with Adam Page right now.
Yeah, that too, which... That's kind of like, all right, what was the plans? Well, we may never quite know exactly what their plans were for it. But I also think that we'll have to turn this show into AEW because that's tomorrow night's show. But yeah, I think that'll be okay going forward because they still got a lot of legs in that story.
They do, but it's like,
you got to be careful.
It just feels like it was this big all this build up for everybody wanted, okay, this is it. This is the payoff we all wanted.
Mm-hmm. And I understand people are disappointed with that, but I do believe that they have time to still pull that off. It may just not be in Chicago. It may be at Full Gear or something else. But yeah, I do still think that's coming. But I understand everybody's disappointment with it too. But I just also feel like it's not a bad thing to add talent as long as you utilize it properly. But we'll have to wait and see what they do. But that's the Adam Cole stuff. That kind of tied into AEW. So sorry we got off on AEW tangent there. But let's get into these 3 shows from WWE this week. And buckle up, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so... Smackdown this week from last Friday. I can't remember the exact date of the show. July 30th was the date of the Smackdown show we're going to go over here. John Cena opened up the show. He came out and the fans reacted big to everything he did. I actually thought he cut a really good promo here. He basically was telling how, Roman Reigns is ducking him and things like that. He doesn't want to face him at SummerSlam. And he pretty much said, it's not because of how I look. It's because of how you're afraid of how I'm going to make you look, which I thought was a nice line. I thought everything was going well here with the promo he was cutting until Baron Corbin come out. Wow. Yeah, great. Why do I feel it was worse, or why did he come out?
Why did he come out?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's because he cut his promo on Robot, and it's time to move on to the story portion of the show. And so he showed up looking as disheveled as he ever has been because he's all sad now. Cena offered him some cash. Corbin wanted more, and so he insulted Cena and called him selfish. Cena delivered an AA to him. He said he needed an attitude adjustment, and that was that. So Corbin kind of just, looked like the geek that he kind of is. And again, why I just don't understand why they feel like we should feel sympathy for Baron Corbin. He's been this total, heel this whole time. And so, we're just kind of, as audience, we don't have a reason to care. Yeah, he's gone through some rough stuff, and he looks terrible. I'm sure whenever he gets things straightened out, I'm sure he's going to be happy to shave that beard and cut his hair because he just looks awful. But other than that, I thought Cena cut a good promo on, Roman, but outside of that, I thought this was kind of a waste of time. It was just typical, Cena comedy, which he does do pretty well, but I just didn't care for the Corbin part of it for sure. They recap Jimmy Uso beating up Dominic with Jay's help. In the back, Dominic promised to watch Ray's back in his match later. Ray pointed out that Dominic still makes rookie mistakes. He wants him to pay close attention to him tonight. Ray noted that he still got 1 or 2 tricks that Dominic could learn. So then we had Jimmy Uso versus Rey Mysterio. This was actually a really good match, I thought, in my opinion. But Ray did pin one half of the tag team champions, as per usual in WWE. So that's not good. But at least I thought in this case, they did a good job because he pinned him in the same way the Usos have been winning their matches lately. Dominic used his feet to give Ray the assist during the pinfall, kind of keeping Ray from on top of Jimmy to kind of secure the pinfall here. So I like that. At least given the story they've been telling, this one made some sense. I just wish they hadn't have pinned the champion here, obviously. But other than that, it stayed true to the storyline that they're telling. So in that regard, thumbs up for sure. We had Bianca Belair came out for an interview. She was celebrating 100 days as champion, which, I guess they got to mark every milestone. Carmella and Zelina interrupted. Both of them claimed that they both deserved title shots. Well, first of all, Carmella had lost her last 2 shots, so no, you don't. And Zelina has not won a single match since she's been back, so no, you don't. So I don't know why they were saying that sort of thing. Logically, it makes no sense. They both double-teamed Bianca Belair after challenging her. That's when the returning Sasha Banks comes out, and she makes the save. Babyface Sasha Banks saves the woman who took the title from her at WrestleMania. Why? I'm not quite so... they were playing off the fact that, she's come back, she's just a happy babyface, Sasha Banks here. And, of course, Bianca Belair, she gives Bianca Belair a big hug, and Belair kind of looks at her like, why are you hugging me? For a good reason. The last time we saw her in storyline, she was beating the crap out of Bianca Belair. So... it just kind of felt a little weird, but it did get a massive pop because Sasha Banks is obviously beloved and all that sort of stuff. So they recap Nia Jax turning on Reginald and Reginald winning the 24/7 championship. Reginald will actually defend his title next, which is interesting because they don't normally do 24/7 title matches. They've been doing that a lot more lately. I thought it was kind of interesting. Let's see here. So they had Reginald is now known as Reggie, though. He doesn't want to be known as Reginald anymore. Why, I don't know. So, yeah.
Street cred, bro.
Street cred. Yeah, exactly. So Reggie looked to be facing Otis, but when they came out there, the Alpha Academy came out, and they get in the ring, and Otis says, "It's not me." So he attacks Reggie, and then they set up a match against Chad Gable instead for the 24/7 title. DQ finish. when Otis attacked Reggie for absolutely no reason other than the fact that it appeared that Chad Gable was about to get pinned. So I guess Otis didn't want him to lose clean. But at the same time, it's like, well, you just cost your buddy the title shot. But, okay. So, he cost his partner the title in here. It was just 24/7 stuff. It's nothing, great to write home about. Sonya Deville pulled her best Teddy Long impression. She didn't actually try to act like Teddy Long, but she signed she signed a tag team match for later, which was typical WWE formula. Sasha and Bianca versus Carmella and Zelina Vega for the main event.
Did she say tag team match player?
No, I don't think she did say that. But yeah, it's just the formula they're using for sure. Gotta have.
She didn't say play at the end of it.
Yeah, I wish she kind of went holla holla holla.
I'd have been like, I'm in. I'd
have been a lot better off with that for sure. But yeah, basically that's what she did here though. She just didn't get to say The Undertaker. But even so. after man, can you imagine her saying that though? You're gonna team up with the. Oh wait. No, he's not wrestling no more. We had a contract signing featuring Roman Reigns and Finn Balor. Roman Reigns come out and literally sat at the head of the table for the contract signing, which I thought was that was awesome. Paul Heyman, pushed the chair over to the edge and let him sit there at the end of the table. So because he is the head of the table, obviously, good promos, but. Yeah, by both men here. Roman Reigns is basically like, Finn, did you see the promo that Cena cut earlier? He basically made you out to be nothing. He's like, I think you're a worthy competitor. He's kind of buttering up Finn Balor a little bit here. So this was Roman Reigns is still great.
The mind games going.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, Finn kind of retorted, he's still going to win the title, blah, 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 blah.
You don't become the head of the table making rookie mistakes, okay?
No, exactly. Yeah, so... I mean, Roman's absolutely stellar in all his stuff right now. There's no doubt about that for sure. But when Finn was about to sign the contract, that's when Baron Corbin attacked Finn Balor from behind while he's sitting there about ready to sign this thing. And Corbin tried to sign the contract because obviously Corbin needs the money. He needs the payday, right? So at least that part makes sense, but it kind of made Finn Balor look out to be like a total geek here.
If Corbin comes out next week talking about I got kids, I'm fucking done.
Yeah, why not? I mean, well, he's like, I got steak to cook and I can't buy my steaks no more. I mean, you follow him on social media, But yeah,
talking about he got kids, I'm done.
Right. But anyway, so Corbin tries to sign the contracts, but Cena runs out and stops him, and Cena signs the contract instead. So basically, you're telling us now that anybody who wants a title match can run out and sign any contract they want, even though their name's not on it, which we'll get into in just a second. And again, so part of me's like, why was Finn Balor in this to begin with? He's sitting there, and he look like a geek by getting attacked from behind, and then Cena just comes out like, nope, the match is mine. And then Roman just sits there like, kind of like all of us in the crowd, just like shaking his head, rolling his eyes like, I can't believe this is happening right now.
So what I think...
he's my spirit animal.
I think Paul Heyman's smarter than that. I think what'll happen is this week he'll say exactly that. Like, you can't just sign a contract when your name isn't on it. So there's no way.
Well, he tried that. Match. He tried that. We're going to get into that in just a second. But yeah, so as of right now, the match is official: Cena versus Reigns at SummerSlam. So I guess next week we are getting Finn Balor versus Baron Corbin on SmackDown. So that set that up. But it just kind of feels like they brought up Finn Balor from NXT to do this only to have Cena get the title shot anyway. I just don't. Understand.
I think what it is they're not going to feed Balor to Roman yet. With Cena coming back, you gauge the audience interest here,
right?
And it's huge. I think they're on a time crunch with Cena, and he's not going to be there that fucking long.
Right, he's leaving after SummerSlam.
Like, okay, let's just do this with Cena, and then we'll get back to story 1A here.
Maybe go back to Finn. And you could do that. I mean, Roman needs guys to beat. And unfortunately, Finn may be on that block for sure. But we'll have to wait and see what they do. But see,
the difference is, with him, you can visibly see he could lose to a certain amount of people.
Right.
Unlike with Brock Lesnar, you just fucking knew it wasn't happening.
Right. Now, somebody like Roman, too, I got no problem with Finn losing to Roman. Roman's the best guy in the company.
Yes.
So, but I don't want Finn losing very often right now because they did that with him before. We don't need that again. But against Roman, I get it. Or like, if like you were to lose to Bobby Lashley, I get it.
Yeah, but like I'm saying, like when they were doing this whole thing with Lesnar, it became this thing of like, well, what's the fucking point? We know where this is going. Yeah, don't get me wrong. Finn carried him to a great match. So did AJ.
Mm-hmm.
Hell, so did Roman.
Right.
But it was like one of those things where it was like, we know where this is going.
Right.
It was Roman, even though he's doing great work, there's still legitimate guys there that could beat him and could take that spot. They're great on the mic and everything else. With Lesnar, it was this thing of like, there's no one who you would buy to beat him. There's no way in hell you could tell me that you honestly thought AJ was going to beat Lesnar. There's no way you thought Balor was going to beat Lesnar.
And that's the way it should be with Roman now, I think.
Yes, yes. But at the same time, there's a possibility.
Yeah, there is. There's that possibility. And obviously Roman has tapped out, not in matches, but he's tapped out. Kind of like what happens at the end of this show. We'll get into it in a minute as well. But
because you have to show the champ vulnerable.
To a degree.
When it comes down to it, at the end of the day, he's the champ for a reason.
Well,
because you may show him being vulnerable, but that when it counts, that's not who he is.
But I also think it does play better if you don't show them vulnerable sometimes. In this case, like Roman, because they're trying to play this whole thing up like who could beat Roman, who could ever beat him. Kind of like what they're doing with Bobby Lashley right now. But you've shown they're beatable. And to me, it's like that takes a little bit away from the mystique of the match. Like when you're setting up, so when it does happen, it's like, oh my God, it happened. Now you're like, okay, they've tapped out. Or Bobby's case, he's got pinned twice already.
But you don't want the whole mistake of showing him they're a veritable god.
Well, that too. I understand that, but
a superhero at this point. You know what I mean? Like you don't want him to literally become Superman, where it's just this thing of like, yeah, well, unless you got kryptonite, there's nothing you can fucking do.
Well, but that's
so you have
even
to show
further to my
him
point,
at
though.
some point that if you can outsmart him, you're not going to outmatch him in power. That's not going to happen.
Well,
the only way to beat Roman is to outsmart him.
Yeah, and that's fair.
And you may get the opportunity to where you show that, hey, for this moment in time, I was smarter than you. But when it comes down to it, like when that title match comes and you're not on your A game, or you could do everything right, but realize that he's still three steps ahead of you.
Right.
You may have gotten him that one time where he was overconfident.
Like with Bobby a few months ago.
Yeah, but it didn't matter because that didn't count. Now it counts.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I understand your point. I mean, I see both sides of it for sure. But yeah, you're not wrong in that case, because you do present him as a beatable champion. You give keep that sliver of hope alive. I get that. Part of me is just kind of like, I don't know. Part of me just would prefer maybe not to have the hope there, and then all of a sudden it happens. It's like, oh my God, But
if you don't have that hope there, then it gets to a point to where it's like it was with Lesnar, where it was just like, I can fucking feed him to Lesnar.
Yeah.
Because when Joe did it, right? Joe went after Paul, and it showed that weak spot with Lesnar. But Joe is somebody who you would thought who could legitimately beat Brock Lesnar,
right?
But then they didn't let you see that. He just fucking ate him, and it was just like, okay, well then I was fucking
right. You
know what I mean?
Right.
So it's all for naught.
Yeah, I get your point.
And then all of a sudden he loses to fucking Goldberg, and is like, fucking really?
Well, yeah, I guess. But yeah, I get your side of it for sure. But going back to the Paul Heyman tried to approach Pearson DeVille in the back is what he did here, and Heyman correctly pointed out that Balor's name is on the contract, not John Cena's, but John Cena signed it. So Pierce claimed that he sees Reigns and Cena's signature, and that's good enough for him. So I guess it's okay to have somebody else's printed name on the contract, but not.
Once you get that signature, man.
Yeah.
It's legally binding. I don't know. That's just one of those weird tropes in wrestling. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, contract signings are always these weird things where anything could happen, and it's not. I don't think that's the first time that shit's happened either.
Maybe not, but
somebody signed a contract.
Which, I mean, this is an interesting development and way to get to the Cena versus Reigns match. I just don't know if it was all completely necessary. But at least I get what they're trying to do. Maybe they're trying to like, okay, the contract settings are considered boring and predictable. Maybe they're trying something different. I give them credit for that.
And here's the thing too. I think Cena's not going to be around that long. There's no way you could feasibly space this out to build this whole thing up. So you just kind of go, okay, we'll just do this. bypass a little bit of this shit.
Right.
If we do the contract signing, contract signings are boring any damn way. And it's like, throw a wrench in it. Fuck
Yeah,
it.
why
See
not?
what happens.
Yeah, why not? You might as well at this point. After
And then you
this,
give
go ahead.
Finn Balor a valid gripe here.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
But now he places ban on Corbin. And I don't see really makes him look like a geek. He had no idea Corbin was coming out there. Corbin is, at this point, desperate. Willing to do whatever he can to get that steak.
Yeah, that's true.
I guess.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
Get that cheddar for this first steak.
Here's the thing. I do a lot of things.
Yeah.
But I'm not just disturb the head of the table situation. That's just
No, I don't think I'd try
that's
to.
a death warrant.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, why would he want to go up against that? But anyhow,
Yeah.
After this, we had a 6-man tag: Big E, Cesaro, and King Nakamura. Cesaro, who did not get an entrance here, and King Nakamura came out not wearing his crown. Interestingly enough, I guess that's kind of, they just called him that now, I suppose. Versus Apollo Crews, Robert Roode, and Ziggler, all three of which didn't get an entrance. So the Intercontinental Champion didn't even get an entrance here. Two moves into this match, they went directly to commercial break. But after back from break, I guess this was a flurry of finishes towards the end. Lots of near falls. Rick Boogs causes a distraction with his guitar, that allowed Nakamura to hit the Kinshasa on, you guessed it, Apollo Crews to pin the Intercontinental Champion to inevitably set up a title match soon, most likely between Nakamura and Apollo Crews. This title's dead. Apollo Crews is dead.
I don't know what.
5 guys in the match, and they had to pin the Intercontinental Champion.
But they had I don't get it.
Which part?
Like, you had something unique with this whole Apollo Crews thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they just kind of gave up on it.
Something very intriguing. His character's motivation.
Mm-hmm.
Which I thought was intriguing as fuck.
Yeah, I thought the change was intriguing.
You had this heritage-bound legacy storyline. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then we just did fucking fuck all with it.
Yeah. And for whatever reason, they've got to pin their champions. And the Intercontinental Champion, I believe they said since WrestleMania, he's got, before tonight, 6 losses on his record. So it's like, in what universe should any of your champions have that many losses? I don't understand the logic behind it, but that's what they do, I guess, for sure. Edge came out next, and before he got to,
you can tell what Vince has his hands in when it comes to certain things.
You really can,
and it's fucking weird.
Yeah, I mean,
because the juxtaposition is, this is your show.
Mm-hmm.
You see how certain things work here. You see what's working here. And you know who's behind what's working here.
Mm-hmm.
Why not have him apply that same mentality to other things?
I don't know, man.
The show. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I like the things like Roman that are working. I don't think that's Vince. I think it's Paul Heyman.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's behind that?
So you're saying it's working. Why not? Yeah. Because Vince has got this thing, from what I understand, where if he didn't come up with it, it's not good. Or he doesn't want anybody else to take credit. You know what I'm saying? He's kind of got this ego about him, the way I understand it.
I don't get that.
I don't either. I mean, it takes a bigger man to understand, hey, maybe I'm not always right, and perhaps the way somebody else or some other company or whatever else is doing it is better now. I mean, even back in the day when Vince was on top of the world with all these big angles and stuff, he wasn't booking like this. So I don't,
which is insane to me.
Yeah.
I was just about to say that too. It's we could sit here and bash this man all day, but that's kind of pointless because at one point in time,
he was great
for a long time. This conversation wouldn't be happening,
right?
You know what I'm saying, to where we're questioning what the fuck's going on, because we would have had a clear cut picture of what was going on,
right?
And it was just I think after he bought both WCW and ECW, he legitimately just
stopped
gave
caring.
a fuck.
And maybe.
Yeah. And for the longest, he didn't have to. And I get, people want to fantasize this whole thing of, the competition. Now he has competition. Listen to me. You make as much money as he has over the amount of years that he has.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, money-wise, AEW is not competition. That's for sure. Creativity? That's another story.
But that's different because, in a sense, again, I'm trying to like use an analogy here that works, but it's not too like off. Like you would get what I was saying. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right. Not sure where you're exactly going with it, so I can't help you.
you take two of the biggest rock stars,
Mm-hmm.
Ozzy,
Mm-hmm.
and give me another one.
You're asking a guy who don't listen to a ton of music,
No.
but just to put that out there.
Okay,
Yeah.
movie stars,
Okay.
right? The highest paid actors right now. Well, that's fucked up because they're friends, so I clearly couldn't even put that out there. But it would be The Rock and
The Rock.
Kevin Hart.
Yeah, I could say that. Yeah, definitely Rock for sure.
Money wise,
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Hart can't compare his money to The Rock's money. The Rock is legitimately one of the highest paid actors
Mm-hmm.
in Hollywood.
Right.
And
I think
Kevin
he
Hart
is the highest, actually.
and Kevin Hart is one of the highest paid comedians right now, right?
Right.
But money wise, there's a huge difference between the two. Do you honestly think that he gives a shit what movies he does because they're not in the same, you get what I'm saying?
Right. They're not like Rock's got this more action
So
oriented style,
yeah,
and Kevin's
so he
more of the
doesn't view Kevin as a
Mhm.
threat to him in any of these roles that are
Right.
coming up for that specific thing. You get what I mean?
Right.
So in the
Other
same
than maybe
sense,
playfully for sure, because
yeah,
they're great together.
yeah, but they're friends.
Yeah.
So that's different. That's what I mean. Like that's where like the difference lies here.
Right. So what you're saying
In
is like
terms of friend-
AEW, what they're doing is not exactly what WWE's doing. So
No,
he doesn't
so
view
he
them as
doesn't
competition because they're doing a different
yeah.
thing.
And
Yeah, I agree.
his money tells him otherwise. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like one of those things that like I love and I would love to think that it would motivate him to do other things,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not because again,
I had to go for it. Sorry. It's bugging me. Go on.
oh, Christ. They're not on the same playing field in a sense of money to where I've gotten and to where you are.
Right.
You get what I mean?
Yeah.
So he's not going to change anything he does because the threat that people say that AEW poses doesn't really register him on his fucking
No,
radar.
and I understand that for sure. I mean,
This plant is driving me crazy.
yeah, I've got bugs flying around my face. You got a plant
And I'm
bugging you like
why?
crazy. Everything's
What
just.
is in my head, dude?
Oh boy, we got off the rails. We're not even through the first show yet. But yeah, I understand what you're saying. But we'll go ahead and move on.
Anyway, okay.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
absolutely. No, you're no problem. Edge is out next, and he comes down the ramp and he does his whole entrance and fireworks and all that stuff. They cut to commercial, and when you get back from commercial, Seth Rollins is standing in the ring. No Edge, it's just like random as heck. Apparently, Seth attacked Edge in the aisle during the break. At least they showed the replay, thank God. He used a television camera against Edge's skull, so that was all we saw of Edge for the rest of the show. We didn't see him again after this. Seth was in the ring. He cut a promo basically saying, if I can't have the Universal title, Edge is not going to have the Universal title. And boy, was this suit loud that that Seth Rollins was wearing. This thing was...
Say what you want. My man got the drip status.
Yeah, see, this is how you do Johnny Drip Drip. Seth Rollins has pulled it off. Now, he's not overly selling it with all the wet, whatever his promos are that Johnny Drip Drip's coming. But Seth is just doing it by, casually wearing the stuff and not drawing too much attention to it. That's how you do it.
You don't have to. They
Right.
talk to themselves. Like ever since this whole savior situation with Seth, the suits, his ring attire
have been great.
Cleaned in a mug.
I mean, I would never wear this sort of thing personally. I couldn't pull it off. But yeah, so I mean,
fail. I would wear that shit to a funeral. You understand me?
Oh my, you'd be the talk of the funeral for sure. But Seth Rollins is basically Seth Rollins pretty much snapped here for the most part, just going crazy eyes and cutting this promo. And there's nothing wrong with it. Of course, while he's cutting this promo, we got very loud "We want Becky" chants. So sucks to be Seth in that regard. Yeah, and whenever he comes out, they're going to have interest in her, which I'm sure she's going to be coming back at some point relatively soon. You don't think she should?
No.
Why is that?
Do I need to express myself on why that is?
Why she should? Oh,
where's she gonna go?
Well,
Raw?
Well, the talk would be SmackDown to be with Seth at this point. So yeah, she'd probably maybe challenge Bianca or something.
Essentially, fuck over Bianca here.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I agree with you. I don't know where you'd place her because she's going to be over more than anybody on the show she's on. Raw will probably be the best place for her, but again, with the Seth Rollins being on now, maybe she moves back over. or Seth moves over to Raw in the draft, and maybe she don't come back till after the draft. There's always that possibility. But yeah, that could be.
Don't put her on SmackDown. You again.
Yeah, I hear you.
It's one of those situations. Bianca did nothing wrong.
Yeah, you don't want to cut her off the knees, but it's not like they're against that.
The moment Becky shows up, it's over.
Oh yeah, no doubt about that. Whoever has the belt on that show she's on, it's hers at that point, and she's going to get the title shot because you know that she don't have to earn it. Well, technically, let's back up real quick. If Becky Lynch gets a title shot as soon as she gets back, I'm not going to have any problem with it. You know why? Because when she left, she had to vacate that title. She never lost it. So she
but that's the same argument you can have for. Well, I guess he did get the title shot. Never mind.
Who?
Edge.
Yeah, but Edge. Did he vacate the belt when he retired?
Yeah.
Well, that was 2 years ago at this point. We're not talking about now. Seth has had his shot, or Edge has had his shots, and he's lost and things like that. That's a little different. Yeah, but Becky, though, she vacated it her first night back, be like, hey, that's mine. So I got no problem with that.
Roman, when he came back after he vacated it, he had to fight for his spot. Well, he said he wanted to any damn way.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm just saying if they go that route, I don't have as big of an issue with it. They don't have to do it that way.
But you can't do that to her. That's fucking...
Yeah, whoever it is going to lose the belt, whether it be Nikki or Bianca at this point. Of course, it could be anybody after SummerSlam.
Shitty.
Especially, what if Sasha Banks wins the belt on SmackDown at SummerSlam and out comes Becky? I mean, that's a feud we've not seen in a bit.
That's fine.
You could do it, I suppose.
That's fine, but you can't just... She comes back and you take that away from Bianca like that because that's fucked up. Yeah. Bianca worked her ass off to get that shot.
I agree.
She worked her ass off to get that belt. She worked her ass off to get to where she is. And it ain't her fault that they don't have. No, scratch that. They have the talent. They just don't know what the fuck.
Yeah. They don't use the division properly. I mean,
that's not her fault.
To that point, no Shotzi, no Knox, no Toni Storm on this entire show on SmackDown. Why? I mean, you could be building up that division with these three women that you called up from NXT, so you took them away, and now you're doing nothing with them. So, to your point, they're not using it properly. They announced that Roman Reigns, as John Cena, is official for SummerSlam. There was no mention of Finn Balor after Baron Corbin beat him down, and Cena stole his SummerSlam title shot. So that maybe they'll play all that later. We'll see. Then we had the main event: Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks versus Carmella and Zelina Vega. Sasha taps out.
Finn's gonna leave next.
What's that?
Finn's gonna leave next.
Oh, maybe. I don't know what his contract status is or anything like that.
The moment he gets forced to do the demon thing, I guarantee he'll leave.
It's possible. I mean, I'm not going, and I'm not going to lie. Even our fun fact and trivia guru thought that it would be cool to have Finn Balor, lose to Roman Reigns and then say, okay, in order to beat the unstoppable man, you pull out the demon. But I know he says he doesn't want to do it. I get that. But for a special occasion like that, I could maybe see. Of course, it's not his call; it's Vince's call at this point. So
he'll be like, "I'm out."
And then, of course, in typical WWE fashion, Roman would probably beat the demon, who's undefeated, and there we go. We're right back to horrible booking. But anyhow,
no wait, didn't Seth beat him?
I don't know if he's lost to the demon. Maybe I'm wrong, but the way I remember it, he's still undefeated. But I don't know. I'd have to look into that. But anyway, if I'm wrong, I apologize. But anyway, Sasha Banks taps out Carmella in this match here for the win via the bank statement. So at least they didn't beat the champ. So that's a positive. But unfortunately, even though Bianca Belair did not take the pinfall or submission or anything here, after the match, babyface Banks lasted all of one show, possibly even 1 hour, as she turns on Bianca Belair and destroys her after the match. She put her in the bank statement where Bianca taps out, and then Sasha Banks got up, showboated a little bit, put her back in the bank statement again, and Bianca Belair tapped out a second time after the match. So way to look your champ look kind of weak here.
Not really. She saw that shit coming.
Well, yeah, she should have.
Bianca knew this was too
which made her look stupider.
Not really. It's the same premise as you could have for Raquel.
Yeah.
If Raquel would have paid attention.
Well, but here's the difference, though. Sasha Banks was her friend for an hour. Raquel and Dakota Kai have been friends for months.
The thing is, too, Bianca knew that shit was too good to be true. But the moment she let her guard down, as she should have.
Yeah, she even gave her a look earlier in the night, like, why are you hugging me?
This bitch, like, don't hug me. We ain't friends like that. Like, again, she knew it was too good to be true.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, like, the rest of the crowd should have known that shit, too. I knew that shit was going to happen. We all knew that shit was going to happen. There's no way Sasha was okay with the fact that she lost to Bianca Belair.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah,
Hands down.
absolutely. To me, though, I think it would have had the same effect had Bianca Belair just passed out in the bank statement. I don't know if you necessarily had to make her tap out twice.
Yeah,
That's just my opinion.
She didn't lose anything.
Well, no, she didn't lose anything, but to me, a pass out would be just as effective. She destroyed her, and but to me, just by making her tap out, not just once, but twice, to me, it effectively made her look a little weaker. That's just my opinion, but that's just kind of the way I see it. But, maybe I'm not, maybe I'm not the, the authority here. I mean, what do I know? I'm some YouTuber who just watched wrestling for 30 some years. But, yeah, I mean, who knows? All right, so that did it for SmackDown. Let's get into Raw here. So we still got 2 shows to cover here. We'll try to blow through these a little bit quicker. Bobby Lashley.
You can talk about Raw you want. I ain't watch that shit.
Well, we're going to cover it here. Bobby Lashley was in the ring to start the show. The fans gave him a big reaction and quickly started booing him, though. It felt like throughout this entire show, I know I've said this since they went back to live crowds, but they were definitely turning down the volume of the crowd and putting in, certain, chants and things like that, like they were in the Thunderdome. So it felt like they were kind of doing a little bit of that here because Bobby was getting cheered at first. Then Goldberg comes out and gets a great reaction at first, but then they start booing him. So it's like, okay, so which is it? It just feels weird.
MVP crowds are weird.
Yeah, well, they are, but at the same time, when they just change on a dime for no reason, it's a little odd.
I don't think it's that.
Well, if you ask Ronda Rousey,
I think it's just that. I think it's legitimately you have a bunch of people who are in the crowd, and it's like when you go to any public outing, there's always a group of people are up to no good. Their whole point is to start chaos. So, of course, Goldberg will get a pop because it's fucking Goldberg, and whether I like him or not, or you like him or not, people are going to cheer for him. Same thing with Vince McMahon. It doesn't matter.
Right.
So him coming out, and then you have that selective group who are just going to shit on it afterwards. And that's what happened. Mm-hmm. Anybody who can get a chance started with that many people would do it. And most people, not all, like being part of something, right? So if we're going to, now our objective is to cause disruption and we start doing certain things, more people are going to get involved because I want to be a part of the fun.
Right. I understand that, but I don't know. It just feels weird the way this is. I don't know. Maybe they're piping it in, maybe they're not, but it felt like they are. Let's see here. MVP noted Goldberg facing Lashley would be his final match. He asked Bill if he wants to be remembered as a casualty. The fans broke into a Goldberg chant, which again kind of felt a little weird because when he comes out later, I can't tell if they were actually chanting Goldberg or Oldberg. I couldn't quite tell the difference because it's so close. But anyhow, that's a possibility that could be happening here. Goldberg made his entrance. The crowd cheered, like I said. When the music stopped, the fans started to boo. Goldberg pointed out that Lashley looks like he's scared. The fans broke into another Goldberg chant, or it could have been Oldberg. Goldberg asked Lashley if he's ready for the challenge. The fans broke into a "We Want Wyatt" chant, which they quickly kind of tried to turn down a little bit. This was Chicago, so we'll get into more of that too. Goldberg noted his age doesn't matter because he'll always be Goldberg. Nice little dig there because everybody's saying he's so old now. He said he lives by the spear and Lashley will die by the spear. Goldberg told Lashley he's next at SummerSlam. One of Goldberg's actually longer promos he's cut in the WWE in a lot of recent years. But he looked a little more relaxed. It wasn't quite so, too amped up or things like that. He kind of came out there and delivered it. It was okay. Goldberg went to the back. Lashley and MVP then noticed that Goldberg's son Gage was in the front row because Goldberg had fist bumped him on the way back. Lashley jumped out of the ring and approached Gage. MVP sent Lashley back into the ring for whatever reason. I don't know. Lashley got back into the ring, grabbed the belt, started to pose in the ring, and of course that brought Bill Goldberg back out, and he ran out and he speared MVP while he had no backup and Lashley was in the ring. So I don't know exactly. It felt a little weird.
It would have made more sense to have Lashley, MVP have the interaction. Mm-hmm. Lashley starts to walk up the ramp. Doesn't pay attention to the fact that MVP is not behind him. Like, he never turns around. He just walks up the ramp.
Right.
Goes out. He doesn't realize MVP is not there. Then have MVP still jaw jack with the kid or whatever. Then Goldberg come out.
Yeah. Then you'd have to explain. I guess he'd be already gone at that point.
Yeah, at that point, Bobby would have been. Like, Bobby
Okay.
turns around to say something, realizes he's not there, looks on one of the mini screens in the back, and have him come running back out.
Oh, after
Goldberg's
the fact.
already gone. Yeah,
he's already done. Well, I get that.
The fact that you're standing in the ring, it happens, and the only thing you do is go, "Oh,
yeah,
that's fucking stupid."
Well, he did go out there after the fact, I think, but even so, it was like, to me, I mean, I don't know. I mean, at least the positive here, though, I was happy to see that Goldberg speared MVP and didn't go after Lashley. Because I don't want these two guys, if we're going to have to get this match, I don't want these two guys to touch. I mean, they did a little bit, I guess, 2 weeks ago, a little bit of a scuffle, but that's fine. But we don't need kerfluffle. But we don't need that anymore until the show for sure. These two guys shouldn't touch it until the match for sure. And it's not a match I'm excited to see. We've talked on here about Goldberg and Cena coming back, getting title shots, both of which have lost the last time they were on the show. There's no sense in them doing it because they've not earned anything. But that's another story. They showed Drew McIntyre in the back standing with his giant sword, which is interesting because this is the sword that apparently that he said was, fake, that got broke before, and now it's the real sword. So he always said, don't bring the real thing to the show in case something could happen to it. But here he is bringing the sword to this real show. So it's kind of, stepping on their own storyline here. Then we had Drew McIntyre defeated Veer and Shanky via DQ. So this is the first of a show that's basically rematches from the previous Monday Night Raw. And it's completely opposite of last week where Drew McIntyre got DQ'd. Now Veer and Shanky get DQ'd because they whacked him with a chair, I believe it was. And of course, this basically ended with Mahal, Veer, and Shanky. They all had chairs, and they had Drew McIntyre cornered. Drew went down the ring steps a little bit, and then grabbed the sword, brought it into the ring to even the odds. And of course, he whacked one of the chairs with the sword, whacked another one with the sword, and then I think it was Veer or Shanky, one of the two, was standing there opposite of Drew. And Drew looked like he was pointing the sword at him, like he was going to skewer him, but then he slowly backed away, and that was that. So this must continue, apparently. Looks like we're probably going to get Jinder Mahal and McIntyre at SummerSlam, most likely. Don't really care about this feud at all, but that's just me. Nia Jax takes on Rhea Ripley up next. Jax told everyone to watch what she does to Rhea. Great promo, Nia. That's literally all she said. So, anyway, back from the break, Kevin Patrick interviewed Drew McIntyre. He said he's ready for Mahal and promised to beat him again. Then we had Rhea Ripley defeated Nia Jax. This was actually a decently fine match between the two, and it was a fresh matchup, so I'll give him that. Although it had some rough spots, the fans gave Ripley a good reaction. Jax got busted open in her eye here. She was bleeding all down the side of her face here. So basically, finally someone caught her like she caught Becky Lynch a few years ago. So, karma eventually catches up to you, I suppose. But after the match, I think... I guess Shayna Baszler tried to get involved on the ring apron, and she tried to cause a distraction. Baszler jumped off the apron, and Jax ran at Ripley. Ripley moved and got rolled up for the roll-up win here. So Rhea gets the win here. But it goes back to just WWE loves their roll-up wins here lately, that's for sure. After the match, Jax and Baszler argued. The fans cheered when Baszler took off her jacket like she was going to beat up Nia Jax. She jumped out of the ring, though, and the fans booed because there was no altercation after all. Ripley then jumped back in the ring, and in babyface fashion, Rhea Ripley jumped Nia Jax from behind and hit her with the riptide as the crowd popped. So a heel tactic by a babyface, which there was another one of those later on. So it just kind of goes to the point that they don't seem to know what babyfaces and heel tactics are, and they just kind of do whatever they want to do on any given week, and it's very odd.
It is.
Yeah. They recapped Mustafa Ali and Mansoor beating T-Bar and Mace from last week. So what are we going to have this week? T-Bar and Mace, they're going to go up against Mustafa Ali and Mansoor again in a 3-minute match, which was most of these matches are tonight. And in this case, T-Bar and Mace defeated Mustafa Ali and Mansoor. So it was an okay match, and I even praised this last week on the show. I thought they had a good match, but why would you beat Mustafa Ali and Mansoor? Considering the storyline they're telling is Mustafa Ali is reluctant to have a tag team partner in Mansoor, but Mansoor wants to team up. So last week he's like, Mustafa's like, all right, or Mustafa, he said, we'll do it for 1 week. So they did it 1 week, they won. So naturally, you would think the way to tell the story would be to have them continue to accumulate wins, right? Well, apparently not, because Mustafa Ali was in his hometown of Chicago, so they had to beat the team here that the hometown person was on, because that's what the company does. Even though Mustafa Ali didn't take the pinfall here, he got jumped after the match. He got a double chokeslam to loud boos from the crowd. So we got to get heat, apparently. That's the whole point here. I guess Ali did save Mansoor from getting attacked. But yeah, this, again, it doesn't make much sense. 50-50 booking is what this was. They showed Nikki Ash in the back, getting ready for her match later. Then we had a Charlotte Flair segment. This was a fine segment, but it felt a bit long and dragged at times. The fans booed and wooed at Charlotte as she made her way to the ring. Flair mentioned Simone Biles withdrawing from the Olympics due to mental health issues. Gotta play on that, I suppose, even though it's maybe a hot button topic you don't want to necessarily touch at this point. She then tied that to Nikki Ash, cashing in her Money in the Bank and winning the title. Flair noted she woke up the next morning and had a nervous breakdown. The fans seemed to boo Flair as she compared herself to Simone's situation. Again, of course you're going to get booed for that. The fans broke into a Becky chant, and of course that made Charlotte snap. Flair said she claimed that she sold out the Allstate Arena. I highly doubt it was because of you, but anyway. She jumped out of the ring and threw in a kendo stick and a chair. Flair was furious that she lost her title 3 times because someone cashed in a briefcase. I can't remember. Did Charlotte ever win that way or not?
No.
I know she's complaining about it, but that's kind of she called it theft. I believe it wasn't an actual match, which technically not wrong, but they've been doing this for years, and you just now got a problem with it.
Yeah.
But anyway, she ranted about Nikki cashing in and promised to defeat her later. Nikki Ash jumped in the ring, and again, typical babyface fashion, not. Nikki Ash jumped in the ring and hit Flair from behind with a chair. The babyface hits a heel from behind. It makes no sense. Nikki celebrated as Flair rolled out of the ring. And I get it. Everybody's going to love it because the heel get their comeuppance a little bit. But a babyface wouldn't do this. A babyface would get into the ring face-to-face and then have the altercation. Not jump somebody from behind. It's not wrestling psychology. So after this, they recapped Eva Marie and Doudrop against Tamina and Natalya last week. Kevin Patrick interviewed Eva Marie and Doudrop. Maria didn't want to talk about Natalya's injury and complained about Alexa Bliss instead. Then we had Tamina versus Doudrop. Tamina got a win here, so at least a champion got a singles win. It only lasted 3 minutes and 47 seconds, though. But yeah, so again, it's kind of like, why are we doing these matches that are 3 minutes? But yeah, at least she got a win. She hit a Samoa drop for the win. I guess, let's see here. It says, Tamina was down and Marie yelled at Doudrop to hit her crossbody, but Doudrop hesitated and then went for the crossbody, but Tamina moved. So she was trying to get Doudrop involved. But yeah, I guess this didn't work because, Eva Marie was kind of causing a bit of a distraction for sure. So again, distraction finishes and things like that. After the match, Alexa Bliss and Lily appeared on the screen. She mocked Doudrop and Marie. Bliss got a mixed reaction, but her music played instead. So I believe, again, the reason why she's getting the mixed reaction is because of the Bray Wyatt release. That's what it was. And they were chanting, "We want Wyatt," and of course they turned the crowd down. And again, there are people online who are attacking Alexa Bliss right now. It's not her fault, guys. She was giving the feed gimmick, and she's doing what she has to do for her job. She was told to do this, so it's not Alexa Bliss's fault. So lay off of her. Yeah, so she was getting a little heat here from the crowd for sure. They recapped Damian Priest defeating Sheamus last week. In the back, Riddle approached Damian Priest, so here we go, some more, high comedy. The fans popped for Priest and erupted in cheers for Riddle. Riddle isn't worried about facing Omos later because he's got the power of Randy Orton pumping in his blood. Yeehaw. Priest isn't worried about appearing on Miz TV since he beat them with Bad Bunny at WrestleMania. So, okay. So then we get this Miz TV segment. Miz introduced Priest and noticed he couldn't hide his disdain for him. Miz noted Priest put him in a wheelchair. They pointed out that Priest took advantage of an injured Sheamus last week. The fans broke out into a very loud CM Punk chant at this point. Look, but good on Damian Priest, though. He kind of just let him calm down, and then he continued. So he didn't engage, so it's very smart on Damian Priest's part. Priest questioned Miz's injury and wondered if he's actually ever going to wrestle again. Miz blamed Priest for his injury and claimed he'd slap Priest if he weren't injured. Morrison then got up in Priest's face and threatened him with his drip stick. And this is where it got John Morrison drippy all over the place. Priest noted no kid wants
not to say what you just said.
Yeah, Priest noted no kid wants to grow up to be either of them. Miz warned Priest that Morrison could take care of him. Priest said he came out here to challenge Sheamus, but instead he will take on Morrison. And of course, Johnny Drip is saying stuff like, you're going to find out it's to be the best is to be wet, and we're going to get the last splash and this stupid stuff. It's like, oh sweet God help me. This Johnny Drip thing is terrible. But again, during the Money in the Bank review, he got a loud Johnny Drip chant, and apparently WWE heard that. Now they're running it into the ground as we thought they would. Miz tried to use the drip stick, but Priest stopped him. He threw Morrison out of the ring and soaked Miz with the drip stick as Miz went crazy because water was getting thrown on him. Guess Rudy has good suit. As if you can see here, Brendan does not care.
No.
Understandably so. Damian Priest then defeated John Morrison in a singles match. Okay, cool. And then immediately after this, we get Ricochet and Sheamus coming out to cause a kerfuffle, as Brandon said earlier. So immediately after the singles match, we get Ricochet and Damian Priest against Sheamus and Morrison. So why didn't we just take the extra 5 minutes from the singles match and just jump straight to the tag match? Can someone tell me that?
We got to fill time, man.
Yeah, but you can still fill the same amount of time. Make a 15-minute tag match instead of 6 minutes in a match, 3 minutes apiece. You know what I'm saying? It's just weird that you had to do both.
Your logical booking makes no sense here.
Yeah, to this company, I know. Not only that, John Morrison takes the pinfall a second time on this show, so that's twice. He got beaten the same night. Let's see, Kreese recovered and hit the reckoning for the win. So yeah, that's that. So Johnny Drip Drip, you are a jobber. Welcome to WWE. You should have stayed away. In the back, Bobby Lashley accepted Goldberg's challenge. That was kind of anticlimactic, and he hopes he brings his son to SummerSlam. So you couldn't have done that, and maybe in Goldberg's face at least, maybe make it a little more interesting. You just do it in the back for no reason. I guess, you couldn't stand up to Goldberg. Interesting there. So, yeah, they recap the Riddle and Omos feud. And then we get Omos versus Riddle. Short match, but Omos is not going to get any better. I think this is his ceiling. I think he's hit it already. No AJ Styles here, and he defeated Riddle in pretty convincing fashion here, in my opinion. So, yeah, you beat Riddle now. Well, it seems like I think about 2 weeks in a row now. So, yep. All right, cool. No Randy Orton on this show as well. So, Randy Orton, where are you? We need to be putting him on milk carts, apparently. In the back,
Randy's done. Randy's like, I'm out.
Yeah, he'll be back for SummerSlam most likely to do this tag match, but it's going to be a short build once Randy gets back. Because I was like, in the back, Alexa and Lily talked about all the people Lily had influenced, including Jack the Ripper. Highly doubt that. Suddenly, Doudrop jumped Bliss from behind. Eva Marie picked up Lily, but threw her to the ground, and they stormed off. So. That's when Bliss rolled on the floor in pain, when Lily, a few feet away from her, pulled her best Undertaker impression, and Lily then stood up after the heels left. The fans loudly booed as Lily was standing up, so no one cares about this, I don't think. Even the casual fans that were in Chicago were not buying this doll. So I think it's time to move forward. Then we had a non-title match, Keith Lee versus NXT champion Karrion Kross, 50-50 booking. Karrion Kross got his win back last week after losing to Jeff Hardy, and now Keith Lee beats Karrion Kross. So both guys are 1-2 on the main roster since their return. I can't explain it. This is why we don't care because of this sort of booking. Nothing against the match technically. Keith Lee to me doesn't look like he did at NXT. We don't know why he was gone all this time. Maybe he has some issues, medical issues or something like that, but he just doesn't feel like he's back in. Either that or it's just the main roster is beating him down so much where he doesn't care either. Kross, too. He just doesn't look the same on the main roster. A lot of these guys don't. But this was, they were trying to play off the fact that Kross was trying to hit the cross jacket a lot faster now to try to speed up the maneuver, that sort of thing. But Keith Lee beat him with the Spirit Bomb for the win. Again, though, it's kind of like you couldn't book either of these two guys against any other opponent. You had to beat them against each other and do 50-50 booking, so we'll move on. So Reggie explained that he used Reginald and a French accent to get his foot in the door on commentary, and Corey Graves was offended that Reggie bamboozled Carmella when he was with her, so of course, Corey Graves loves Carmella. Then we had a 24/7...
Corey Graves really
loves Carmella. I can't blame the guy. I mean, shoot. 24/7 champion Reggie versus Akira Tozawa. 2-minute match, 24/7 title. Reggie retains. Who cares? Moving on. No holds barred championship contender match, which again is weird. They're calling this a championship contender match, which they've been using to set up their title matches. But again, Charlotte Flair is already in the triple threat match, so why does she got to beat Nikki? Anyway, it's just weird. This is actually a pretty decent match, all things considered. And I will say this, Nikki Ash gets the win here against Charlotte Flair. Clean. No outside interference from Rhea Ripley like I thought was going to happen since it was no holds barred. But the problem with this, even though the fact that Nikki did win, throughout this entire match, Charlotte Flair was beating the crap out of Nikki. Nikki, I think, got only 4 spots where she got any sort of offense in. And the finale was when when Charlotte Flair ran through a table that was set up in the corner on her own when Nikki moved. So technically, Nikki didn't do anything. So again, regardless of the fact you still got Nikki Ash winning the match here, Nikki still looks to be a fluke champion because she's not getting anything legitimate here. Which I get that's the story they're telling, that she's getting like these fluke wins, but it doesn't make the championship look strong in this case. It makes it look to be a joke, and that's what they do. So that was the end of Raw, so we'll move on to probably the better show of the week, and maybe Brandon will actually get involved in this a little bit here, but it's NXT for Tuesday,
yes.
August 4th. He's alive now. All right, we revived him.
Listen.
Okay.
I want to say this, because I know what it comes off as. And, it's not that I'm trying to be a dick to you or anything like that.
I understand.
It's legitimately, I'm
These
at a point,
shows.
like I told you at work, I'm at a point where it's like, I offer you no input here because your feelings on these shows, from what I see, because like I said, I don't watch them, but I can catch the highlights and the shit on YouTube. There are other content creators that I watch or listen to podcasts,
Right.
shit like that, to where like even hearing it secondhand frustrates me to a point to where it's like, why is it like this?
Well, and if you feel that way too, in order to spare you a little bit, maybe since I do want to still do all these shows on the same night every week, what I could do, I could always record Raw and SmackDown separately, and then ag you.
Because then
You want to stay
seem
here?
like you
Okay.
got to cater to me, and I'm like, no, that's not it. It's
Well,
not.
okay.
I have no problem listening to you go through this and get this shit off your chest. But when you ask me, it's just like I said, with anything I don't like, whether it be people, movie shows, I'll give you my input. But at the same time, I'm not going to talk about it because I don't care. Because it's just like, what? Because it's so hard for me to try to understand something, then let alone give it my honest opinion
Right.
when I don't get it.
I hear you.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean it's hard. And we want the good Vince
It's just
McMahon back, who was doing all these great things.
I'm
we
not
want
saying
that
you
back.
got to go back to the Kiss My Ass Club, which
No, yeah.
I was a fan of, but had some good comedic moments. I don't give a
Yeah,
shit.
there's some good stuff. Like when Rock shoved Rikishi or his face into Rikishi's butt. That was great.
God.
I mean, things like that. I mean, where's that now? And I get it, it's The Rock, but at the same time, that was funny stuff. That was great.
His whole face was in Rikishi's ass.
Yeah,
that's not the point. But not even that. Think about the whole Triple H and Stone Cold, the rivalry there, the feud there, for that short amount of time. The story that was told, hell, between Pillman and Stone Cold, which I thought was great.
Mm-hmm.
Even Shawn Michaels, the whole "Lost My Smile" thing.
Yeah, and that was even one of their darker times, actually, that year. But yeah.
But now we don't get shit like that. There's a way for you to make a superhero story and work. Hurricane Helms was a thing.
Now of course he's never women's world champion, but you know what I'm saying. He was never like world champion either. So you're making Nikki again. God bless Nikki. I love Nikki Ash. She's a sweetheart of a woman, I'm sure. But what they're doing with the character is not working, and it's starting to get booze now. Unfortunately,
because it's seen as a joke, man.
Yeah, that's the problem. The 24/7 title, a lot of their titles are considered jokes outside of Roman and Bobby right now because they're booking those guys relatively properly.
You can make the 420.
20. Hey, that's Matt Riddle's title, but 24/7.
Make 24/7. Yeah, I don't know.
They're trying at least. They're actually making actual singles title matches now.
You should have did that from the jump.
Agreed.
And the whole stipulation of the 24 title should have played through it, but if you would have made it a legit belt from the jump,
not with these bunch of jobbers and guys from catering running after it all the time. It's the circus
I
clowns.
Get it. Sometimes great for comedic effect.
Yeah, depends on how you do it. Yeah, when done right, which is not what they're doing.
You did the thing. You did the hardcore 24/7 title like that.
Yeah, it was fine.
Legitimate matches.
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden there would be times where the match, there wasn't, the belt was not on TV, but you get a random sporadic moment of somebody out there, and then somebody comes running out. Crash Holly would come running out.
And they're not real creative with it right now. It's just a bunch of guys chasing a guy, roll up, run. And we've seen that. I remember one time I think somebody ran into a door that was half closed and things like that. I think it was Crash Holly or something like that.
I thought the stuff with Maverick. Yeah, that's his name, right?
Maverick.
Maven? Is it? No. That was fine though. No, with R-Truth and
I could tell you. R-Truth's been in so many different feuds with this thing.
R-Truth and what's his name? He wrestled LA Knight last week or the week before.
I don't know, bro.
He was Damo's partner.
Drake Maverick. I didn't know. I didn't know he was in a 24/7 feud.
He
might have been, but it's been a while. Like I said, that title's changed hands.
Thing before he got fired and then got rehired on NXT. Where he was at his wedding, and R-Truth snuck in his wedding and was either the preacher or the best man, one of two, rolled him up at his wedding. Drake Maverick's he pinned him. Or the night he was in his room during his honeymoon.
Yeah, at least see that stuff was creative.
That shit Yeah.
Or it wasn't great, but at least it was creative
But
more than guys just running around.
creative, it was different. It was funny.
Yeah, I'll give him that.
But
Yeah,
now it's just this thing.
no one
where it's like,
cares.
all right.
Because it was new at the time. It was fresh.
You had an opportunity to make it something more
Agreed.
than what it is.
And they dropped the ball on it for sure. All right, let's get into NXT. The Hit Row come out to start the show. They're having a tag match against Legado del Fantasma.
I was not home when this happened.
Okay.
So,
But did you see it though?
week.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
Okay. Santos Escobar basically interfered by dropping Top Dollar with a chair, causing the DQ. This is kind of a lame finish, but it did lead to an angle afterwards, basically. Let's see here.
Okay. Now I get what you say about lame finish, but at the same time, it set up a wider situation here.
Right.
The lame finish, yeah, but at the same time, we got much more out of it. There's something, we're going in a direction from here. It's not like a lame finish and then we just go our separate ways here. This is still pushing the narrative and the story that we're, in the journey we're going on to get that big payoff at the end. You get what I'm saying?
Right. And this is definitely leading toward Escobar versus Swerve Scott. Yeah. It's got to be. That's the end game here, or at least, for the North American title. Yeah.
You see my man's Top Dollar.
Yeah, Top Dollar is still great, absolutely. I mean, it wasn't a terrible match or anything like that. I just hate it when matches end in DQs just because they do it so much. If they just did it occasionally, it wouldn't be a problem. NXT is better about it, but it's all kind of a little slack.
It's not a huge thing like that.
As much, yeah.
And I get what you're saying, and I 100% agree with you. There are a lot of times where it's like, it's unnecessary, but sometimes when it helps drive a story, and you don't necessarily want to beat either person in the sense of beating them as somebody taking a pin or tapping out or something. I get the disqualification or the distraction or whatever you want to call it, the dusty finish, if you will.
Right.
I get that. And as long as it pushes and then furthers the story.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, but that's the proper way to do it, to be honest with you. We had Rich Holland, or Ridge, not Rich. I think I called him Ridge last week. Ridge Holland, with Pete Dunne and Oni Lorcan. He basically squashed Ikemen Jiro, I think that's how you say his name. Squashed him here in a glorified squash match here. After the match, as it should be. Pete Dunne cut a promo after the match on behalf of Holland. Dunne warned Thatcher that Holland will knock his teeth out. Pretty sure he's already had his teeth knocked out, but I think that was the point. But
by his partner,
right? That was not very nice of him to say, for sure. Frankie Monet was upset that she lost last week in a tag match with Jessie Kamea, as she let Robert Stone and Kamea know about it. Monet blamed Stone's botched interference for the loss. She said Stone and Kamea are used to be losers, but Monet does not even know what that word means. Monet said for this group to work, they have to rebuild in Monet's image. So Johnny Drip Drip's wife is laying down the law here. So
she doesn't know what it is to be a loser, okay? And I knew, but I told you last week too that he's going to be the fall. Like he's going to get kicked out.
Yeah, already. It seems like it's already going down that path for sure. This next match I thought was actually probably the best match on the show to this point for sure. Roderick Strong versus Bobby Fish. Yeah, this was actually pretty darn good.
Some of those backbreakers, dude.
Yeah, I mean, it just felt like it should have been maybe a little bit more than what it was here, but at the same time, this wasn't bad at all. Yeah, it's Strong looked, no pun intended, strong in winning this, and obviously they're setting up what we find out a little bit later, Strong versus Kushida at some point for the Cruiserweight Championship, so that could be very good as well.
Backbreakers were serious.
Right,
and he hits them in so many different ways, and he's so innovative on how he does them, and it's just dope. It is so dope.
And this is a perfect example of pitting the right guy in the right booking sakes here, because Bobby Fish really isn't doing a whole lot right now when it comes to program-wise.
But he doesn't look bad either.
No, he doesn't. He had a great match, and everything looked good. So, I mean, you can pin a guy if they're not really doing anything at the moment, which is why I'm not necessarily as big of a I know our buddy Mike talked about how he hated how WWE pinned John Morrison twice on Raw. To me, it doesn't bother me as much because John Morrison's not doing anything. He's not been booked to do anything. But I understand Mike's point. Mike's point is he should be booked in a better position because he is so much more talented and they're not utilizing him properly. That I agree with. But for the way they booked him for now, for him to lose, I got no problem with it. Twice maybe a little much, but so it didn't bother me as bad here. But yeah, this was an example of proper booking where you beat a guy who could take the loss and you make Strong look good here for sure.
I don't mean to cut you off. I look crazy as fuck. because like there's something sticking out of my drawer, and I couldn't figure out what it was. So I'm looking at it. I shit you not, it moved.
Do we need to start call it exterminator?
So I opened my drawer. No, what it was, the reason it moved is because there's a string hanging out and my foot hit it.
Oh.
So it pulled it. But for a second, I was like,
you thought it was something in the
there?
drawer?
Yeah.
Way to freak yourself out, buddy.
I did. I was like, you watch. When you looking back, you'll see me go.
Nice. Apparently, we're going to have to call the butler, Cameron Grimes, to come over and clean your desk out. That leads us into the next segment. See what I did there with the segue? But anyway,
it legit freaked me out. Though.
Right? I don't blame you, dude.
Freaked me out for a second.
Little comedy here on the weekly podcast for sure. Grizzled Young Veterans versus LA Knight and Cameron Grimes here. Before this match, though, we had a segment in the back where basically LA Knight and Cameron Grimes were like, "You got my back. I can trust you, right?" And Cameron's like, "I'm a man of my word. You can, of course, you can trust me." And then LA Knight said the same thing, but we found out that's not necessarily the case.
You're right.
Yeah. James Drake and Zach Gibson of Grizzled Young Veterans win this match after Drake pinned Grimes to win the bout after it turned into an impromptu 2-on-1 handicap match because LA Knight refused to tag in Grimes, leaving Grimes to the Wolves. So, yeah, this is basically a squash match of Cameron Grimes here, which, again...
No.
Well, not exactly, but...
Squash match.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying, though.
He held his own. It's a numbers game.
He did for a minute.
I will say this, though. I didn't think it was going to end up this way. I really didn't. I thought what would end up happening is, he would let him take the abuse for it, but then he would be the one to come in and clean it up and take the victory.
Yeah, you know what I mean? He just flat out left, though. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't see him just flat out leaving him like he did. Mm-hmm. So that was like one of those, all right, that was a dick move.
Right. And it plays into the storyline, so I got no problem with it.
Yeah.
And to me, this feud and the Cross Joe stuff, which has been hurt by what they did to Cross on the main roster, is the best stuff on NXT right now. Cameron Grimes and LA Knight is probably the best feud on this show, which I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. It's the best thing, but to me it's the most entertaining for sure.
And you called it. You said last week about Ted DiBiase coming out and giving Grimes one of those pep tops.
Well, he did last week on the golf course a little bit.
Yeah, but
word
for word, you said that he would say, I know you're a man of your word, but you got to
figure out a way out of this.
Yeah. And I was like, so when he said it, I was like, well, I'll be damned.
See, sometimes I know what I'm talking about. It's rare, but occasionally I do know what I'm talking about here.
I will admit that part. Like, I was sitting there, he legit said that, and I go, well, I'll be damned.
Yeah, Eric, yeah.
Eric called that.
Eric knows what he's doing. So, y'all, you can listen to me. I try to be, fair here for sure.
Yeah.
So Ted DiBiase helped him to the back after this beatdown. So clearly we're going to get Grimes and LA Knight at some point going for it, the title again at some point, as we should. We'll see where this goes, but I like where it's going. It's telling a good story.
Yeah, I like where it's at.
Yeah, occasionally.
The young vets, they don't lose anything here.
No, exactly. Well, they win,
don't look like a bunch of bullies because they beat them up. I mean,
they took advantage of the situation.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. It was a tag match. Your partner left you. That's not my problem. But Cameron held his own. But like again, the numbers game, and I love that finish the Grizzly Young Vets have. Ticket to Mayhem.
Yeah, it's kind of got a little bit of a big rig, or what they call FTR, the Shatter Machine. Mm-hmm. It's got a little bit of that into it, but a little bit different variation.
It's like if you take that in a 3D.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it for sure. I like it for sure.
I love it. I think it looks great.
Yeah, those two guys got a bright future ahead of them for sure. And now, let's see, Johnny Gargano. Oh, I'm sorry. I cut see up the head a little bit here. Dakota Kai in a vignette explained her turn on Raquel Gonzalez. Ever the heel, Kai blamed Gonzalez for being selfish. Of course, Kai is actually the one being the selfish one here a little bit. But
no. But Kai has a point.
Yeah, she does.
She has a very valid point here. I get it. You're supposed to be mad at her because of what she did, but she's not wrong.
Right. Well, that's sometimes the best. And Charlotte Flair's been doing that a lot lately, too, where she actually has a good point, but it's just the way they go about things sometimes. But, I mean, I'd be rooting for Dakota Kai in this situation, regardless of how they book it, just because
like I said,
Raquel's a heel.
But right now, so is Dakota. People are feeling sympathy for Raquel at this point because Raquel, whether we Raquel has established herself as this kind of babyface in the situation here. When normally you would see it the other way around because of the size difference between the two. Yeah. You would root for the underdog here. But in this situation, you legitimately feel bad for Raquel because like this is her only friend, and she made that statement very obvious there. She has destroyed all these other women. There's nobody here that's gonna have her back in this situation.
No.
Not gonna happen.
And they called up
And
all
then
the other
you
women
look
who
at
could
it-
go against her. So
Yeah, if you look at it from not Tegan Knox,
Dakota
Dakota
Kai. Yeah.
Dakota's point of view, she's not wrong.
Yeah.
She plucked that girl from obscurity,
Mhm.
made her something, carried her to her title matches, helped her win those matches, but in the end, like she said, I saw it that time.
God.
she
Anyway,
she
I got this
wanted
gnat that's
something out of
bothering
the
me.
deal, and
Yeah.
she was, she'd have been happy with the tag team champions while letting her be the women's champion. But in her mind, Raquel was being selfish. She didn't cared about the women's title when she got it, but she'd have never got it if it wasn't for Dakota.
Yeah.
So like, I can see Dakota's point and why she has the animosity, and you were right about that too. I didn't catch it, but they show it, that shot of Raquel holding the belt and Dakota standing behind her, and she looks at her with like this "you don't care"
Yeah.
kind of look. Like, I see where your loyalty lies in this situation. Yeah.
And not
So,
only
like-
that, when she kicked her in the head, they shot it in such a way to where you couldn't see Dakota Kai running up on her until she hit her. So that was great. Now in this recap though, they kind of showed that reaction. What you didn't see when she kind of looked at her like, and then you got to see her run around to kick her. So they showed the other angle, which I thought was good camera work here for sure. So yeah, they're telling a good story here, and I hope
You
that
can
they will
hear the
continue.
crowd's genuine reaction to that shit too.
Yeah, because they
Some
saw
of
it
them
coming.
were-
Yeah,
some of it were like, some
It's
of it
gonna
was
happen.
Oohs and
Yeah.
oohs, but a lot of it was cheers, and a lot of it was that people were chanting "Welcome back," like
because this is the Dakota they missed.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm glad to see this happen again. And I'm sure it'll be a good match again. With something we'll probably get at Takeover for sure.
But I didn't see it coming. I will. Say
Yeah, I didn't
this.
either. I mean, we all saw it coming at some point. We just didn't know when.
Yeah.
So
when she was saying something about again last week when she said, "Who is it that's going to challenge him?" I'm not going to lie to you. Part of me thought, and I was waiting for it to happen. I thought Oscar's music was going to hit. I don't know why.
I mean, she's not been on Raw lately, so why not?
I was like, no.
I mean, maybe that's
But
where
then
they
it
could
didn't
go
happen.
after. But I mean,
Then it didn't happen, and then that happened, and I was like, all right, I'm a fan of this though.
well, and it just kind of goes to the point too. Just because things are predictable, because again, we saw this coming at some point. We didn't know
just
when.
not.
So when you pull the trigger on it, yes, it's predictable because we all expected it at some point, but they did it at a time we wasn't expecting it, and it was beautiful. So
if you listen to the promo she cut, it's not apparent any of this is gonna happen.
right,
You know what I mean?
yeah, because she's putting her over.
This woman's horn.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's putting her over hard.
Uh-huh.
And it's just like, okay,
Which sold it even the more. when
where
you
are
did-
we going?
Yeah.
You
So
know?
that was brilliant booking on my part. And that's the way it should be done when you do a surprise like that. Build it to where we least expect it, and then bam, flip that switch, and that was great. So more of that, please. Thank you. Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae cut a promo saying that what is best for Eddie Hartwell is this match tonight, and of course Gargano vowed to end Index for good.
I feel so bad for Indy. I legitimately, this whole thing between her and Dexter has won me over in this weird kind of like soap opera.
They have
kinda
good
way.
chemistry, no doubt,
Yeah,
regardless
but,
of the Dexter weirdness.
I want to see them together.
Well, stay tuned.
I don't know why.
Yeah, we're going to get to the end of this.
I know.
Okay,
But
yeah.
it's like part of me is like, I want this to be a thing, all right? And then Johnny and Candice are a bunch of fucking haters right now.
I'll tell you right now, though, I have a part of me that did not like what happened at the end of this, though, and I'll tell you why when we get to it. Because it just goes to the way they booked it. But again, it may turn out fine, but for one night, it was kind of, what the hell? But anyway.
No, I get what all right. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we'll get to it. Announced for next week on NXT is a face-to-face between Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly, mediated by William Regal himself, so they'll be setting up their match. Probably we'll get what the match is going to be, so that'll be cool. Trey Baxter defeated Joe Gacy to advance in the NXT Breakout Tournament. This is a pretty quick match. Baxter
I
pinned...
like both of these guys.
Yeah, clean win, and Baxter moves on to the semifinals against Odyssey Jones. Baxter wins with a 450 foot stomp before scoring the pinfall. So short, but very good. So nothing wrong with that. Next came a very wacky skit. It was odd. Io Shirai and Zoe Stark. They went to
wacky. I thought the shit was funny.
It was funny. It was different. I don't know exactly what my feelings are on it right now yet, to be totally honest.
Look, all Zoe's trying to do is
get closer.
Get closer to
be
her.
my friend. That's
and it's like Io is so used to being on her own. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, I remember when her and
they said her name, Kairi Sane.
Kairi Sane were together, but they weren't necessarily like fucking tight. They
played it off like they were today because they were talking. Yeah. She even mentioned, "I want to be close to you like Kairi Sane was."
But they were legitimate friends from Japan. And all
right. They spoke the same language, which they got into here.
And this shit was just funny to me.
Yeah, they went to a sushi restaurant, and Shirai ordered in Japanese. Stark in English said she would have what Shirai had ordered. The food came and it looked like squid. Stark was very unsure, but she tried to play it off. She acted like she was eating the food, but Stark spat into napkins and threw it on the floor. Stark ate too much wasabi, and it was spicy. Shirai hugged the waitress after she brought it from the bill. Now, before this, Stark also chucked part of the squid over her head, and it hit the wall behind her to get rid of it. So it just splattered against the wall. So that was pretty funny. Shirai hugged the waitress after she brought them the bill. Stark went in for a hug, but Shirai pushed her away and gave her the bill. So clearly, Stark's going to have to earn her friendship here if it's going to ever happen. I'm not sure it will. It might. It will. Maybe she pays the bill. It starts off on the right foot, and then we'll see. But it was interesting.
What will happen is it'll get to a point where Stark will either just give up. Like, I've done everything I can to try to prove to you, and
she'll have to save her in a match or something.
Something will happen. She'll save her, and it'll be, be one of those things where it's like, okay, I can trust you type situations.
Right. Now I could be your friend for sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see where it going that way.
Indy Hart will be a great tag team champion for a while.
Oh yeah. When it happens, for sure. Well, they're not. Are they the champs now? Yeah, they're the champs now. Yeah, I couldn't remember.
Current champions right now.
Yeah, my bad. So, Indy Hartwell was backstage. She's all love struck ahead of the main event. NXT champion Karrion Kross stormed into the CWC, calling out Samoa Joe. Again, part of this is taken away from me now. Thank you, Monday Night Raw. Out comes Joe as security tried to hold him back, which Regal assigned security around Joe to keep him away from Kross because now that he's an active competitor, we're right back to William Regal kind of losing control of the show. They were no match for an enraged Samoa Joe, though. He tossed the security aside and stormed into the ring. Then security bumped. That's a weird word. I don't know. And fed into the ring. Bumped. It must be what they wrote. And fed into the ring as Joe dismantled them one by one. He choked one dude out, and Joe glared a hole through the camera. Joe let out a primal yell before leaving the ring. So, yeah, he destroyed a bunch of security guards as Kross bailed. So, yeah, I mean, we all know where this is going now, unfortunately, because he's going to the main roster. Kross is losing this belt to Samoa Joe. And it sucks because they basically just told us the ending by doing what they did on Monday Night Raw. Now, I know they're not, Raw and NXT are two different worlds. They don't necessarily collide at all, so they don't, stick to the storylines and doing this sort of thing. But it just ruins NXT. And this is why NXT's ratings are low, unfortunately, because they've buried their talent, the storylines, you name it. The main roster does not care. They should, though. I mean, they should really do their due diligence to promote this and actually bring it on level of Raw and SmackDown, but they don't do that. Because I hate to say, a lot of these talents in NXT, they're not developmental. They're our third brand. But we've read it on that before. A Prime Target video package hyped the upcoming title match with Walter defending his NXT UK Championship against, is it Ilja? Or I know it's Dragunov.
Don't ask me to pronounce that, man.
But anyway, this was great stuff. And apparently we're going to get to see Dragunov on next week's NXT. He's going to be in the CWC, so we're going to actually get a look at him.
That video package that they showed, and when Walter's mounted him and just fucking drop. I'm like, dude.
This match will be great at TakeOver. I can't wait to see it. Whenever I get a chance to see Walter, it's always great because Walter's amazing. Make him the world champion of everything. That's all I can ask for. NXT Cruiserweight Champion Kushida said he would give Roderick Strong a title shot, so that's confirmed. NXT Women's Champion Raquel Gonzalez breaks her silence next week on NXT. Also announced for the show is Ember Moon versus Sarai in a first-time match. In addition, Dragunov will be in the CWC. Plus, already announced for next week will be the face-to-face with Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly. Then we have the main event, Johnny Gargano versus Dexter Lumis in a love her or lose her match. Like to cut things short here, Gargano pinned Loomis, but Loomis and Hartwell got together in the end, regardless of the stipulation. So this was record time. They reneged on the stipulation of the match, which is my entire problem.
I don't think they reneged. I don't think it's a renege.
It's going to be ignored. That's for sure.
No, I don't think that's going to happen. I think what it is there's going to be consequences for what she did. Obviously.
She's going to have to live up to the stip.
This is going to be the start of her splitting herself away from the way. She knew the stipulations of the match, but it at some point too, it's just like with the whole thing with Grimes, you got to do for you,
right?
And I think it was one because you could see the trepidation she had walking up the ramp.
Yeah, walking away, but she couldn't resist. She had to go back.
Because it's like with that thing of like, I know the stipulations. I get that this isn't supposed to happen, but at the end of the day, fuck it.
Yeah, and that's what she's thinking. And I still think if they are going to uphold the stipulation, Gargano could said, "I win. You're supposed to walk away," and and she's going to have to live with that repercussion of ignoring that stipulation. Maybe that's the case,
and I think that's where this is going.
And that's why I said for one night only, it felt like they're ignoring the stip. But we'll see. Maybe they don't. If they do, then I'm going to have a bigger problem with it because it's like, all right, now you're just saying all stipulations don't count. Nothing matters. So you've got to follow up on this, in my opinion. If you don't.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but this isn't like
it's not like a big step. Yeah,
it wasn't like somebody's getting fired here or anything like that.
Oh, agree.
Losing a title shot, or it's just
it's still a stip though. If you start saying the lesser important steps don't matter, then when did the more important steps don't matter? You know what I'm saying? So I mean, you got to be consistent. That's all.
It's the same. Like I said, it's the same thing with the stipulation with that the match had with Grimes and Knight. We know that stipulation is going to be broken here soon.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you got to think about they've been doing this side story between Indy and Loomis for a while now. And this whole thing is built up. And then you have this match, and it's like, it didn't go the way I wanted it to, but you fuckers played a part in it not going that way.
Yeah, to a degree. I mean, there were times where Indy got knocked off the apron, and
she got knocked off because of the whole thing with Johnny, and he started the reason why she was there in the first place.
Yeah. So, exactly. So you could almost argue that it wasn't fair. I guess you could say
they did what they had to do to end the match the way they wanted it to be ended, and so it's like, yeah, you can say that I'm supposed to do this, but you didn't do this fairly.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, I mean, that's very possible. Like I said, just for one night it felt odd, but we'll see where they take it. If they follow up.
Did you not hear that reaction?
Oh, yeah. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I want to see them together because obviously they've been building to that. And this moment was great because she basically runs back into the ring, tackles Loomis, and basically makes out with him right there in the middle of the ring.
She could have tackled me.
You know what I'm saying? She goes, it's going to get pretty hot and heavy in the back there.
I'm with it. Make it happen.
Yeah, so I mean, this was hot and heavy for sure.
It was,
and this did get a great pop because again they've been building slowly to this moment. So yes, this was for that part based on how they've been building it to this point. They executed that well. I just don't want them to start ignoring steps to tell a story. That's made roster crap, and I don't want to see that.
This is one of those things where it's like a soap opera. It really is.
And I get the storytelling aspect.
You wanted this. Everybody wanted this.
Well, we did, but
I think there will be some repercussions for it, and I think what we're getting will be, a match between Candice LeRae and Johnny Gargano versus
that could be, mixed tag.
And Cartwell.
Yeah, that could very well happen at TakeOver for sure. I mean, granted, we got a lot of matches on TakeOver, seems like, but I can see that happening for sure. It's just one of those nitpick things for me. It's like, all right, be consistent. Don't stop.
This will be that thing to where it'll happen, and this will be that match where we fight for our
love.
Us.
Hey, maybe that's so. And even so, I just don't. I mean, I get Dexter Lewis is odd, maybe, and I just don't understand what their big issue with. It's her life. Let her make her own choices. But
my business, fam.
Yeah. So exactly. That's a good reason for her to break away, though, because they're too controlling. So if that leads to that,
starting to see that, and I think this was her way of going. I'm not going to do what you want me to do.
Right, and I understand.
I know what I want, and then she just went for it. It's like that rebellious teenager. We've all been there.
Yeah,
you told a story about it, when you weren't supposed to do something.
Oh yeah, I was I mean, I wasn't a bad kid, but yeah, we've all had our rebellious stages in life when we were younger, for sure. Young love in this case, it does crazy things to you, but but yeah, so that's pretty much the show.
Have you looked into his eyes? Okay,
I don't want to.
I don't either. I try not to.
I mean, how that works, I don't know. Especially on a girl like Indy Hartwell, who's smoking hot. It's like, wow, okay, good. I guess she likes that creepy vibe.
He looks into your eyes, and I swear to you, it's like he's judging your soul.
Yeah.
It's weird.
It's weird, but hey, it's working for him in this case, so more power to it. But yeah, as long as they kind of follow up on the step a little bit, I'm fine with it. But if they do that, fine. I just want to make sure we don't start going down main roster territory where we start ignoring stuff, because that's not good. But I have more faith in NXT. I think they'll be fine. But
I think this is the catalyst to the rift between The Way and Candice, or not Candice. I'm sorry.
The Way,
Indy,
and
we'll start to see this happen.
And that's perfectly fine. I just want to point it out in case it comes back around a little bit later that we need to bring it back up again. But I have faith in them, and we'll see where it goes. All right, so that does it. We're about an hour and a half in here for these 3 shows. Hopefully maybe next week we can cut it down just a little bit on time. But that's all right. This is our first time doing all 3 shows for the week, but we just thought it'd be a little bit easier to do all of WWE in 1 week, or one show. That way we don't have to do it multiple shows throughout the week. So the real question here is, guys... Huh?
I promise, next week, even though I don't watch Smackdown or
you
Raw,
don't. Yeah,
I will be more engaged.
All right. Well, and we all have our moments and stuff too, where things.
I'll try. I promise you shit.
It's hard to get into, and I'm sure anybody watching WWE and knows about Pro Wrestling 101 and psychology and things like that understand that you're disinterested right now.
And like that's the thing. I don't want to hate it. I don't.
Yeah, neither do I. I want the old Vince to be back. I want WWE to be great again. We complain about WWE all the time on this channel, but we want them to be good. We want them to be what they once were. That's why we complain. If we weren't, unlike Ronda Rousey, it's okay to complain about bad booking. That doesn't mean we don't like somebody like Bray Wyatt. I just got to throw that out there. Ronda Rousey was running her mouth off. There's nothing wrong with booing something. That doesn't mean we don't know what we like as a fan base. It means we want better booking and better storytelling. That doesn't mean we have anything against the character. So I just want to throw that out there. But anyway, that's my soapbox. But anyhow, so I'll get out here. But anyway, comment down below. Let us know what you guys think about this show here. And of course, all these 3 shows for WWE from this week. And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. And please hit that notification bell as well. And until our next video, guys, take care.
Goodbye.
Yeah. Ready to go, man. Knock it off. That's right. I swear to God that I can